First off, I'd really like to take a moment to thank everybody for supporting me the way that they have so far. I cannot believe how many subscribers I've just gotten over the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks. I've been uploading every day, and this has been so fun. Such a great experience for me. I know it's been a very fun experience for everyone else, getting to see me push out content a bunch and learning about who I am and what I stand for and what my interests are. And so I'd like to share one fact about myself before we get into this article, is that I used to write a lot of screenplays, and I used to try to pitch a lot of screenplays in Los Angeles for a while before I eventually migrated. So that's one fun fact about me. Let's talk about the Hollywood Reporter for a second, because these guys are crazy. Does anybody think it's a coincidence that they released this article only a day after they get absolutely slammed by pretty much 95% of YouTube and the internet for posting that ridiculously long defense interview with JD Payne and Patrick McKay for the Rings of Power series? That thing is just so absurd, and there are so many videos, so much content on each of these different sections of the interview, and it's awful. It's just one of the worst things I've ever seen. To me, I read it and it looks like they're doubling down, but I'd like to read it with you guys so that we can see exactly what's going on with this actress. And it's crazy. Listen to this. Rings of Power star, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get this name right at all, Nazanin Boniadi, Boniadi channels Iranian activism in her character. These brave women inspired me to play this role. The former Homeland actress plays Bronwyn, a human healer who leads the Southlanders in a battle against the orcs in the show's 5th and 6th episodes. So they're really propping her up. As the saying goes, life imitates art, and vice versa. For Nazanin Boniadi, I'm so sorry. That statement rings truer than ever before in her portrayal of Bronwyn in Amazon's The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. I knew this role resonated with me because I had been doing this activism for 14 years. Whew. Is it any wonder that they picked her for the role? Beats me. Why? Because she doesn't have much to do in that show. I mean, despite all this propping up they're doing, Boniadi tells The Hollywood Reporter about her dedication to fighting for women's rights in Iran, where women experience discrimination, segregation, and a lack of basic human rights under the country's strict regime. Okay. At the start of the series, Boniadi's character, Bronwyn, is a human healer living a quiet life in a village in the Southlands of Middle-earth. She is a single mother to rebellious teenager Theo, and caught in a forbidden romance with elven soldier Arendir. When a faction of orcs threaten to descend on her land, Bronwyn finds herself an unlikely leader. I love when you don't see the inner strength coming in a character, Boniadi says. She doesn't have any kind of superpower. She has nothing going on for her. I love that. I just love that she's just not interesting at all. Her superpower is just being a mom and having that internal womanly strength, that amazing girl boss power that we men only wish that we could begin to have. All of the leaders in The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, are weak men compared to women like Bronwyn and Galadriel, who are just the most amazing leaders in the world. In the show's 5th episode, she calls on the Southlanders to stand up against the oppression of the orcs trying to take over their land. Is that who the orcs are? They're oppressors. They're oppressing you. They're not just like evil creatures just trying to kill you for the will of evil. Okay. Who among you will stand with me, she says in a rousing speech to rally her people to battle. It's one of the most generic speeches you've ever heard. Who among you will stand and fight? See, he literally just says that right after. It's just like, who among you will stand with me? Repeat line. Who among you will stand and fight? Repeat line again. Will any of you guys stand with me? Yeah, that's the writing of Rings of Power for you. Come the 6th episode. Bronwyn and Arendir lead an all-out battle against the orcs. Iranian-born and London-raised, the Rings of Power actress even dedicated her performance to the women of Iran while she was at Comic-Con earlier this year. I didn't know that. Little did she know, just a few months later, protests would spark across the world in response to the tragic death of 22-year-old Iranian woman Mahsa Amini at the hands of Iran's morality police, and condolences to her and her family. On stage in Hall H, I dedicated this role to the brave women of Iran who are on the front lines of the fight for freedom and democracy in my homeland. I served in Afghanistan in 2013. Totally understand. How could I possibly know that 2 months later, I would be marching in a protest in Los Angeles, fighting in solidarity with the brave women of Iran who are literally risking their lives for the most basic rights? That's wonderful, but what does that have to do with the show? That's not in this show at all. What does this have to do with the Rings of Power? You took the role because of that? What exactly about Bronwyn, who has like the most basic role? These brave women inspired me to play this role, she continues. I had to sort of channel these women who are risking everything for a better tomorrow. It's just the bitter irony of all of that aligning right now in this moment. It doesn't escape me, but I hope it helps get their message out. She doesn't even sound committed to this. I mean, I know she says she's been doing this for 14 years, but doesn't really sound all that committed, almost like she's nervous to say it. I'm not sure. Or it's the way that they write it, but they're writing her words word for word, right? Verbatim, I assume. In a conversation with THR, Boniadi talks about scoring the Bronwyn role, diverse representation in on-screen fantasy, and her work as an Iranian activist. This is just terrible because I guess the Hollywood Reporter's idea of a response to all of the backlash that they've been getting over the last 24 hours is to give us an article about women's rights and how men are evil and how this is such a groundbreaking thing to happen in cinema. And I like the show depicts Bronwyn as this perfect female warrior who's just a shy single mother at first, and They prop her up as this person who saves everybody, but she doesn't save anybody. She can't even keep Theo in the same location as her. He's always running off, getting himself almost killed, and Arendir's always saving him, and he's going off and stabbing himself with a dark blade. Like she has no control over her son, nor does she have control over the people that she's trying to quote unquote lead. They run off with the old man Jenkins, who barely makes sense half the time. He gave us better speech than them. I mean, she's like, come on, guys, team up together, stand with me, fight. And they're like, oh, yeah. And the old man's just like, no, give up on everything and work with Sauron. Come on, just give up. There's no point. And they're like, yeah, that's way better. And then half of them laughed. She doesn't seem very strong to me. I love when you don't see the inner strength coming in a character. I mean, I'm not the obvious choice for a brawny sort of action type character, but I think J.A. Bayona really championed that. J.A. Bayona is actually a good director, in my opinion. I like his previous films. You guys should look up his films if you get a chance, because it's basically because of him that I slightly enjoyed the first 2 episodes of this show. But he didn't really give her much to go on either. I mean, she was just being irresponsible and I mean, just basically just a boring character. There wasn't really much going on with her. I think you wanted someone where you didn't see the physical strength necessarily coming. You saw it sort of brewing underneath, maybe in her demeanor. I mean, everybody saw this coming, though. Everybody knew that she was going to do some kind of cool girl boss thing. It was very obvious. They set it up so obviously. Their foreshadowing skills are just awful. They're terrible at that too. But you didn't necessarily see her being able to do that, which is slay orcs. She's now slayed 3 on camera. And she's taken an arrow, assisted the interviewer. And she took an arrow. Remember? Yeah, she did that really cool thing. Oh, yeah, she's taken an arrow. She saved Arendir's life. No. Yeah, but and then almost died from 1 arrow. She's definitely a surprise in the sense that you don't see that kind of physical strength coming. And she just keeps repeating that same thing over and over. Physical strength. You don't see the strength coming. You don't see this coming. You don't see that coming. Which I find really rewarding because strength to me comes in all shapes and sizes. We can never judge a book by its cover. I love that idea of having a character take you by surprise. That was really fulfilling and really, really exhilarating to play. I don't know what she's talking about. Where's all the excitement? That she's like, I'm so exhilarated and excited, but like when she's on camera, she's just like, just standing around, just staring, like, hey, believe in me, once in a while, and everyone's just like passing it by, like, this lady's, is she okay? She doesn't have any kind of superpowers. Again, she just keeps saying that she's normal. She's got nothing going for her, but she still comes out on top. I love that. Her superpower is being a mother and having that internal strength. I think oh my goodness. What was that audition process like for you? Did you know what you were getting yourself into? I think it was called Untitled Amazon Project. The first audition came through as the Untitled Amazon Project, and then in parentheses, aka Lord of the Rings. Then in a second audition, because most of us had multiple auditions. In fact, I think all of us did, maybe except one or two. Whew. But I had the second audition come through that was just called Untitled Amazon Project, and they had taken the second part out. I was like, it's too late. We all kind of know, but we definitely all had code names in the audition process. My name wasn't Bronwyn, but the lines were obviously some evolved over time, but they were scenes from the show. I did 4 auditions over the course of 6 months. I got through that one. Coming from projects like Homeland and Scandal, Rings of Power is a bit different genre-wise. As someone who's been in the industry for a long time, had you been waiting to take on an action role like this? It's really interesting. I've done so much TV, but I guess my big first standout role was How I Met Your Mother, which was comedy. It was my introduction to comedy that happened to be one of the biggest comedies out there. Then my introduction as a series regular on a drama was Homeland, which had this big trajectory. It had just come out of awards, and I had joined 3 seasons, so it was definitely kind of an entertainment and social zeitgeist heavily. And then after that, I did Counterpart, which was sci-fi, and then it was a Star show that had J.K. Simmons. Okay. How do they expect everyone to read all this? I'm just going insane trying to read all this. This is just where's all the Rings of Power stuff? Again, I'm gonna just leave the link to this article in the description so that you guys can go through this. But just from skimming it, I see nothing about the show. Nothing. My goodness. I know you are a major Iranian women's rights activist, and I read that you had strongly connected with Bronwyn's desire to liberate her people. In light of the current protests in Iran, could you speak to that element that you share with the character as well? Didn't she just do that? She was already there. She's like, okay, well, now I'll just start from the beginning. It's crazy because in July I was like, whew. Yeah. So this is really desperate. It's honestly disgusting. I honestly don't know why they're using human rights activism, women's rights activism in articles like these. I mean, I do, because they're clearly desperate and they want to defend this show because it's a failure, and it just continues to be a failure. And every time the actors and actresses and the directors and writers open their mouths, they just look stupid. They sound stupid. This is awful. And not just what the actress is saying. This whole thing is just dumb. It's shameless. They have no shame. I mean, I've said that before. They just have no shame. They just keep defending it. It's ridiculous. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Like and share this video, subscribe, click that notification bell. Again, guys, thank you so much for the support. And liking and sharing, I would really appreciate that, because it shows that my voice is reaching people, and it's really enlightening for me. And again, it's overwhelming in a positive way, and I would love to see more of it. And it's making me feel more ambitious, to making me feel more confident in the content that I'm pushing out. So keep it up, guys. Keep up the good work. And of course, share your thoughts with me in the comments. Okay, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will talk to you all next time.